Hi, my name is Georg Emanuel Nagel from Alt-Right Austria. After a few months I've decided to start with my little video podcast again. And this video is a response to a video from Andy Nowicki. Well, it's not really a response, it's an addition. I don't disagree with Andy on what he said, but it's more of a clickbait if you write it as a response. Andy talked about the movie of the Dead Poets Society, and when I was young, I loved this this movie. And now when I've listened to what Andy said about it, I totally agree with him. It is leftist propaganda, and I failed for this propaganda. It resonated with me, and I felt what they wanted me to feel. And when I now look at it, it's really a very subtle propaganda. That's the difference to the Hollywood movies from today. They are like a punch in the face. The propaganda is just so obvious. Whereas 30 years ago, the propaganda was more subtle. And the first thing is, when I look at this movie now, I love this school. It's a boarding school, very conservative, very upper class, and actually I would have loved to attend such a school and not a crappy public school with leftist Marxist teachers. This school is elitist and it's conservative, and they are teaching classical studies, classical humanities. And what's wrong with it? Maybe it's not perfect, but the movie wants you to hate these institutions, to hate authority, and to revolt against it. And the teacher, the glorified teacher in this movie, he is somehow a code or so for the culture of critique. So he comes in from without in this closed society, in this closed, homogeneous society, and he wants to start a revolution for no reason actually. And it's okay to criticize something, but if you want to be productive, your criticism has to lead to a better solution, to what was before. But he's just criticizing. He's criticizing the way English literature and poetry is taught in this school, in this class, and he's criticizing the book he is supposed to use in his class, and he just wants to throw it away. And he replaces it with a mockery. Maybe the old book was not well written, maybe it was boring, but it summed up the knowledge of ages. And he replaces this with a mockery of poetry. And what does this teach to young people? Like, to be great, to be a poet, or to be great at any subject, at any art, you actually have to sacrifice years of studying and practicing, and you will never become great with just having fun. It's a serious thing. Like, there's a sentence from the novella Tonio Kröger von Thomas Mann, and the main character is the namesake Tonio Kröger, a writer, and he is invited to a dinner party. And at this dinner party there is an army officer, and the army officer stands up and reads one of his poems, and this poem is awful. It's just cheap. He's not a poet, he's an army officer. And Tonio Kröger becomes very angry. Like, he thinks to himself that he has actually somehow adored this conservative army officer, but now he is looking down on him. And he says something like, how can he dare to pick just one leaf from the golden tree of poetry without sacrificing your whole life? But the teacher in the Dead Poets Society is teaching the opposite of it. Poetry is a mockery. Poetry is standing there and shouting stupid utterings that have no meaning. And he's not teaching these children to be a light, to be someone, to become someone. He's teaching them to just don't care. And this is not a good education. So he is the culture of critique, putting down on everything putting down everything generations before him glorified, and he's replacing it with a mockery. And then there's this other character who wants to play theater, who commits suicide in the end. Like we have to be sorry for him, and it's very tragic. But hey, he's a wimp. Like his father does not want him to play theater. Okay, then he has to make a decision. He can follow the lead of his father. He can do what he wants, and he will still get his money and his support. Or he makes his father angry and he goes his own way and does what he thinks is best for him, what fits for him. But he instead decides to kill himself. So he's an idiot. He's mentally ill. And it's not the father's fault. The father is portrayed as being evil and as being mean. But he's a conservative man, and he just wants the best for his son. And he wants that his son has a good education, that he will achieve something in life. And his son wants to play theater, and if this is not a career. So the father is not evil, maybe he's too harsh, but he wants that his son does that what is the most reasonable thing to do, to finish his education and to don't waste his youth for these ideas. And he commits suicide, and it's so tragic. No, it's not tragic. He's an idiot, and we should not feel sorry for him. And also the authority of the father is his question here. So the father's authority is not something that's portrayed in a good way. But the father authority and the care of the father is only negative, and it's so negative that the son has to commit suicide. Why is there no other solution? Why can't he continue with his education and still play theater? But after all, actually, from a conservative right-wing view, at the end there's a happy end, because the culture of critique is forced to leave school after this disaster happened, and everything goes on as before. Well, I fear that it's not so easy in our real lives, that it's not going away. The trouble that they have caused with stirring up revolutions and stirring up any kind of trouble in our society and breaking down all institutions and all hierarchies, it's not going away so easily. It will break down, and we have to build up again. And actually it is very good if you have a structure that has been established for years, for centuries, maybe for hundreds of years. And if you can rely on these structures and on these solutions that have worked for so long, and maybe not everything is perfect, but then improve it and don't just tear it down. Well, that's what I had to say for today. See you.